Super Bowl 59, Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles. Oh joy.
Please stop pretending that the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions wouldn't be a Super Bowl that would feed families for generations.
If the NFL were fair, then we would have gotten one of these following Super Bowl 59 matchups instead. So let's dive right into it. Buffalo Bills versus Detroit Lions. Remember when the Lions and Bills squared off at Ford Field back in Week 15? You know, when the Bills won 48-42? 90 combined points, 1,080 yards of offense, 430 total yards, and 4 touchdowns from Josh Allen. 494 passing yards and 5 touchdowns from Jared Goff in a losing effort. I mean, come on, do we really need to say any more? Allen and Goff played like MVPs all season long, and it would have been epic to see them duke it out again on the grandest of stages. Plus, one can argue that the Lions and Bills deserve a Super Bowl more than the other NFL fan bases. This would have been a fascinating showdown featuring two teams with long-suffering supporters who have gone through decades of misery and heartbreak. To think it would all finally end for one of these fan bases. I mean, something would have to give here. Most people are pretty dang sick of the Chiefs and Eagles. Nobody is sick of the Lions and Bills. This would have been an epic Super Bowl for all of us to get behind, and it's a damn shame that we didn't get it. Oh well, maybe next year. Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Chiefs. Look, we know most of you are sick of the Chiefs, us included, but it's practically mandatory to feature an entry of the two #1 seeds whenever they don't actually meet in the Super Bowl. And let's be real, just about every non-Eagles fan would way rather see the Lions in the Super Bowl instead. With all due respect to the Chiefs and Eagles, they are widely viewed as two of the NFL's most evil teams outside of their own fan bases. At least with Detroit and Kansas City, you'd have one lovable feel-good story trying to put an end to the Chiefs' three-peat bid. The Lions would be playing the role of David, with the Chiefs taking on Goliath again. Plus, you know, the Lions and Chiefs have basically been the NFL's two best regular season teams over the last 2 years. Remember, Detroit came into KC and defeated them in the Week 1 2023 kickoff game to partially spoil their Super Bowl 57 banner-raising ceremony. And to think of just how close we were to getting this dream Super Bowl matchup a year ago. If only the Lions didn't blow a 17-point lead to the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game. You'd have the league's best head coach in Andy Reid going up against the ultimate risk-taker and motivator in Dan Campbell. The Lions are slated to visit the Chiefs in the 2025 regular season. Yeah, still not quite the same as a Super Bowl matchup, but hey, maybe we'll get them again at Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. Buffalo Bills versus Minnesota Vikings. Remember what we said about the Bills and Lions fan bases being tortured continuously for decades? Well, the Minnesota Vikings faithful can certainly relate to that. The Vikings lost their only 4 Super Bowl matchups in franchise history over a 7-year span from 1969 to 1976. Gary Anderson's missed kick in the 1998 NFC Championship game, Brett Favre's costly interception against the New Orleans Saints, the Blair Walsh miss. Honestly, it's kind of unbelievable how much many supporters have had to endure. So there's that storyline again. One of these teams would end years of being jinxed in New Orleans, once and for all. Oh, and then there's the actual matchup part. Josh Allen and the explosive Buffalo offense going up against a Vikings unit led by Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones? For all the marbles? Oh yeah, where do we sign up? Minnesota was 9th in scoring offense and 5th in scoring defense. Buffalo had the 2nd highest scoring offense and the number 11 scoring D. These teams would be as evenly matched as you could ask for. Sean McDermott and Joe Brady facing Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores in a chess match would have been a Christopher Nolan-like picture in terms of suspense and drama. But alas, both of them had to once again flop and disappoint in the postseason. If you want this Super Bowl matchup in your mind, well, you'll have to turn to Madden. At least we got the Chiefs and Eagles instead. Not. Denver Broncos versus Washington Commanders. Everybody likes an easy-to-root-for underdog story, so who would have complained about a Broncos-Commanders showdown, aka a rematch of Super Bowl 22? There's never been a Super Bowl showdown between two wildcard teams, but this would have been a juicy first, to say the very least. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix versus fellow rookie sensation and QB Jaden Daniels? Yes, please. The Broncos and Commanders were two of the biggest surprise teams of 2024. Nobody thought Denver would be a playoff team with an unproven rookie and holes all over the roster, but Nix was up for the challenge and led Denver to its first postseason appearance since 2015. Denver was scarier than their 10-7 record indicated too. They had the number 10 ranked offense and the third best scoring defense, while also leading the NFL in sacks with 63. Daniels, by the way, had the best rookie season in NFL history. He brought new life to a long-suffering Washington franchise and led the Commanders to the following: first double-digit win season since 2012, first playoff win since 2005, first season of 12-plus wins since 1991, first NFC Championship game appearance since 1991. Daniels destroyed opposing defenses with his electrifying dual-threat style of play, leading Washington to the number 5 scoring offense. So watching Daniels go up against an elite defense with the league's best pass rush would have been a sight to behold. Oh, and Nixon Daniels would have simultaneously become the first ever rookie quarterbacks to start a Super Bowl. An all-Cinderella matchup that we all could have gotten behind, alright. Baltimore Ravens versus Minnesota Vikings. This hypothetical matchup may come across as random to non-Ravens and Vikings fans, but you know, we'd be all for it. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry both played at MVP-like levels in 2024. But how would they fare against Brian Flores' blitz-happy and ultra-aggressive defense? That would be the game's main marquee matchup. But also, how about the Vikings' aforementioned wealth of weapons facing Baltimore's star-studded secondary led by Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey? How would Sam Darnold produce against an opportunistic Baltimore defense? We suppose the nice consolation prize is that they meet in Minnesota during the 2025 season. But watching Jackson try to shed the can't win the big one label against a Super Bowl-deprived Vikings organization would have made for some epic drama. Los Angeles Chargers versus Los Angeles Rams. We know that Chargers and Rams home games, Bolts ones especially, are usually filled with the opposing team's fans. Some of you might say that the City of Angels doesn't deserve an all-LA Super Bowl. But you know, a matchup in New Orleans this particular year would have been actually kinda epic. This matchup would have featured two of the league's best tacticians and chess masters in Sean McVay and Jim Harbaugh. The Rams rode a prolific offense led by Kyren Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matthew Stafford to an NFC West Division crown and a trip to the divisional round. Harbaugh has always been an attention to detail and defense-first guy. So yeah, this would have been an epic chess match between the two head coaches. Either the Rams win another Super Bowl and make a dynasty case themselves, or the Chargers erase themselves from the jinxed franchises list and finally win the big one. Baltimore Ravens versus Philadelphia Eagles. You may recall that the Ravens-Eagles Week 13 game in Baltimore was a bit of a letdown. What was shaping up to be a Game of the Year candidate was instead a 24-19 Philly win. A defensive slugfest that had 12 penalties and subpar passing days by Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. No doubt in our minds that a rematch would be much better this time around though. The Ravens offense fired on all cylinders down the stretch and may have led them to the AFC title game if not for Mark Andrews' costly fumble and subsequent drop on the 2-point conversion. Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry were the league's two best running backs in 2024. Jackson and Hurts are two of the best dual-threat QBs that we've ever seen. Oh, and each team finished top 10 in scoring defense. Whether it would be an offensive explosion or yet another defensive tilt, we'd guarantee a nail-biter of a game that would go down to the wire. Unfortunately, the Ravens couldn't hold up to their end of the bargain here. Green Bay Packers versus Kansas City Chiefs. There's just something nostalgic whenever these two teams meet, and we can't really put our finger on it. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. These two teams faced off in the first ever Super Bowl on January 15th, 1967. Yeah, that's exciting and all, not to mention that their last three meetings have been decided by a single score, which included a thrilling 27-19 win for the Pack over the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in Week 13 of the 2023 season. That was one of Jordan Love's first real statement games to the rest of the league, proving that he was in fact the real deal. Plus, you know, this would have been a beautiful matchup in terms of entertainment value. The Packers had a top 10 scoring offense and scoring defense. Yes, a team with Love, Josh Jacobs, and Jaden Reed would have given Steve Spagnuolo's group some challenges, as would their star-studded defense pose a challenge to Patrick Mahomes and company. It would have been quite the story if the Packers became the first number 7 seed to play in the Super Bowl, and if they completed the underdog story by denying the Chiefs three-peat. Too bad they forgot to show up against the Eagles in the wildcard round, huh? Buffalo Bills versus Philadelphia Eagles. We were oh so close to getting the Bills and Eagles in the Super Bowl. But of course, the Bills did what they always do, fall short against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in January. If you hate the Eagles, you would have had a very fun time in rooting for the Bills here. Perhaps no team in the history of North American professional sports has gone through the amount of heartbreak as Bills Mafia. And most of America would have been behind them in this one, especially if they knocked off Kansas City. Watching Allen try to complete the mission of destiny against the league's #1 total defense would have been a compelling showdown. And seeing how vulnerable Buffalo's D was down the stretch, this game would have had the makings to be a back-and-forth classic with Allen and Saquon Barkley fighting for Super Bowl MVP honors. Baltimore Ravens versus Detroit Lions. Among every possible Super Bowl matchup between the 14 playoff teams, this one could have very well been the best of the best. The Lions and Ravens were first and third in scoring offense during the regular season respectively. Both also finished with top 10 scoring defenses. Not to mention that Dan Campbell and John Harbaugh are two of the most aggressive head coaches the game has ever seen. Taking that into account, a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl could have legitimately featured 0 punts. But hey, what other Super Bowl 59 matchups would you have preferred over the Chiefs and Eagles? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.